Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ship Nuggets. So excited to be with you again. It's been wonderful. Today, I'm going to be talking about entrepreneurship, and I want to talk specifically about managing risk. You know, the last videos that we made, we talked about the fact that an entrepreneur engages in innovative pursuits, they are proactive, and they are not risk averse. They take risk, they manage risk. And the purpose of this is to move resources from areas of low activity to areas of high activity. What that means is that the entrepreneur kind of scans through the environment, they look for problems which they in their mind interpret as opportunities, and they figure out innovative ways to proactively solve that problem. That is who an entrepreneur is. So entrepreneurs are not just people who are born with the entrepreneurial gift in them. No, an entrepreneur is somebody who engages in entrepreneurial activities, and it doesn't matter where you're engaging that activity. You can be entrepreneurial as a pastor. You can be entrepreneur as a doctor. You can be entrepreneur as a lawyer. You can be entrepreneur as a teacher. I dare say, if you're not entrepreneurial in your occupation, you may be having some problems. But the problem, the reality is that anybody can learn how to be an entrepreneur if we just engage in some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So the first thing there is risk. Risk. What about risk? Well, basically, what is risk? Risk is basically exposing yourself to some form of danger or some form of something harmful. But in business, when we're talking about risk, it's exposing yourself to some form of danger financially, danger in terms of your partnerships, danger in terms of marketing, danger in terms of, mostly it's financial actually, when you're dealing with business. So the question is, how do we deal with risk? First of all, it's not about engaging risk or identifying risk or taking risk. It's about managing or maneuvering risk. Managing or maneuvering risk. The successful entrepreneur is very good at managing and maneuvering risk. I think it's very important to say this at this point that, many times we don't engage entrepreneurially because we're afraid. We're afraid. If I do it now, what will happen? If I do it now, especially in this season now where there's all kinds of stuff going on, coronavirus here, this going on there, the stock market going down here, why on earth should I be engaged in entrepreneurial pursuits? Why on earth should I be engaged in doing stuff like this? Why should I be? Well, why not? The Bible says, he who observes the cloud will not sow. In other words, if you're just looking at all the environmental factors to be 100% perfect before you engage, then you're not going to be successful as an entrepreneur. You're not even going to be successful in life, period. We must not be intimidated by the cloud. We must not be intimidated by the cloud, because if I'm looking at the cloud all the time, I'm not going to put my seed on the ground. I'm not going to engage. So how do we go about this whole things about risk? First of all, I want to say that there is a perception of risk. There are people that have an optimistic perception of risk, and there are people that have a pessimistic perception of risk. And this is the difference. You notice that even in the world today, there are people that see risky situation and it's all pessimism. Oh, we're going to die. Oh, if I engage in this stuff, it's always doom and gloom. And then there are people who are optimistic. Yeah, it's risky. If I engage in this, then it's risky. But then I've done my calculations. I've been able to see that if I engage, it will still turn out to be good. So the perception of risk is very important. And one thing I found while I was studying and doing my PhD, I realized that certain cultures approach risk differently. For example, African cultures were very, very risk averse. That's what the research has said, and I'm not saying there are no exceptions, but many times we're risk averse, and for many, many reasons. Culturally, it could be because of the way we view our leadership, or the way we view just being proactive. Culturally, those things may affect the way we view risk. So you want to look at your culture to see, okay, how does my culture affect my approach to risk? There are certain cultures that are not afraid of risk. They go out there and they explore. And let me tell you something, the reality is that I'm not trying to pit one culture out to be better than the other. Life was created to be explored. Life was created to be explored. So I want to just, really just encourage you wherever you are to take a step, evaluate like, okay, how's my culture, how's my environment affected my approach to risk, right? How has it affected my approach to risk? Am I risk averse? Am I afraid to take a step? Am I always just cowering? You know, evaluate yourself. Look at yourself right now. Look at the environmental factors that affect you. Look at bureaucracy. You know, sometimes people grow up in a bureaucratic environment. And because they grew up in a bureaucratic environment, they're afraid to take the risk because they believe they have to take the steps. I'm not saying you should do things illegally, but there's this bureaucracy that prevents some people from taking risk. You know? So we have to evaluate that. Tribal restrictions, ageism, whatever it is. Evaluate those things. That's the beginning of it. I'm telling you, when you conquer this in your mind, you see, half the battle of entrepreneurship is a mental thing. It's not just you just going out there to start a business. You have to deal with this aspect of risk in your mind, and you have to be willing and ready to approach risk from an optimistic position. So that's all I have for now, you know, in terms of just, you know, this nugget. I'll be sharing some more about risk in upcoming videos, so look out for them. Till then, let's keep sailing to the top.